can find magic wherever you look. Sit back and relax. All you need is a book. Good morning, student. Welcome to a fine morning. Hope so. All are safe and healthy. Children, today we are going to start up with Political Science Chapter 4, that is the United Nations. In this chapter, we'll be dealing with introduction, United Nations background, objectives of United Nations, principles, structure, functions, and many more things. In this video, we'll be dealing with introduction and the United Nations background. Let's have some information on introduction. United Nations is an international organization founded in 1945 after the Second World War by 51 countries committed to maintaining international peace and security, developing friendly relations among nations, and promoting social progress, better living standards, and human rights. Let's see about United Nations, what it is given in the textbook, children. The United Nations organization was established to ensure peace and security at international level. In the present chapter, we shall study its objectives, principle, structure, and role of securing peace. Now let's see about United Nations background. The United Nations is an intergovernmental organization that aims to maintain international peace and security, develop friendly relations among nations, achieve international cooperation, and be a center of harmonizing the actions of nations. It is the largest, most popular, most internationally represented, and most powerful intergovernmental organization in the world. The UN is headquartered on international territory in New York City. Let's have a little bit more information on the United Nations background, which is given in the textbook. Two world wars were fought at the start of 20th century. Life and property were destroyed on large scale in this war. As a result, the League of Nations was established after the First World War, and United Nations was established after the Second World War. Out of a realization that there has to be mechanism to establish world peace, the League of Nations did not succeed. That was the reason why we have seen the Second World War. The idea took root that such destructive wars should be stopped, and that it is the collective responsibility of all nations to do so. The United Nations was established after the Second World War to instill this understanding among all nations. So children, this was about the background of United Nations. So in this video, children, we have discussed about the introduction part of United Nations and the United Nations background. In the next video, we'll be dealing with chronology of the establishment of United Nations. Children, before starting up with the next video, continue with your eye exercise. Have a good time, children. A book is a magical thing that lets you travel to faraway places without even leaving your chair. Good morning, student. Welcome to today's next video. We have already started up with Political Science Chapter 4, United Nations. In the last video, children, we have discussed about the introduction part of United Nations and the United Nations background. In this video, children, we'll be dealing with chronology of the establishment of United Nations. So children, let's have some information on formation of United Nations. On January 1, 1942, representatives of 26 nations at war with Axis power met in Washington to sign the Declaration of United Nations, endorsing the Atlantic Charter, pledging to use their full resources against Axis and agreeing not to make a separate peace. So this was about some of the introduction part of this particular concept. Now let's see about the chronology. What does chronology exactly means? A list of events in their order of occurrence, how they occur from the start to the end. Now let's see about the chronology of establishment of United Nations. The Atlantic Treaty was signed between Prime Minister of England Sir Winston Churchill and American President Franklin Roosevelt during the Second World War on 14th August 1941. According to this treaty, a decision was taken to set up a permanent mechanism to establish international security after the Second World War was over. Detailed discussion followed on this decision in two conferences among Allied powers in 1944 and 1945, and a draft of the treaty to establish an international organization was prepared. With this, children, we come to know that chronology, how they started up and how they were moving towards. For example, first they started up with Atlantic Treaty, then they started up with the detailed discussion what exactly the war was and how the war started, everything. Then detailed discussions were taken Allied powers in 1944 and 1945, and draft of the treaty to establish an international organization was prepared. At San Francisco in America, representatives of 50 countries drafted the Charter of United Nations after discussion. As soon as the war got over, the charter was signed on 24th October 1945 and the United Nations was established. The United Nations is an international organization of sovereign nations. Now this was about the chronology, how they started after the particular Second World War. When the Second World War ended, many things came in front and they have arranged it according to the chronology. Now children, in this video we have discussed about the chronology of the establishment of the United Nations, and in the next video we'll be dealing with objectives of United Nations. Children, before starting up with the next video, please take proper rest, do your eye exercise, and children, take care of yourself. Be at your homes. Have a good day, children. Writing is like faith. Each man in agency feels the decision should total his own salvation. Good morning, student. Welcome to a very fine morning. Hope so. All are safe and healthy. Children, hope all are staying at home only. Still the conditions are not being normal. Take care and be at your home only. We have already started up with Political Science chapter 4, that is the United Nations. In the last video, children, we have discussed about the chronology of the establishment of United Nations. In this we have seen what is exactly chronology. Chronology means the things to be arranged in an order. In this video, children, we'll be dealing with objectives of the United Nations. Let's see some objectives of the United Nations. Provision of a platform and strengthening of democratization process, respect for humanity and rule of law. This objective was mainly to be achieved in the Arab regions and Africa. Another objective of the UN is to strengthen peace building efforts, advocacy, and ensure that forum members are able to participate in raising awareness. So let's see now, children, what is given in the textbook related to your objectives of United Nations. The United Nations is the world's largest international organization. In the beginning, only 50 countries were members of United Nations. Today, this number has gone up to 193. Just imagine, we have also read about the formation when it was being there to form. Before that, 20 nations came together. After that, 50 members of United Nations came together, they signed together and they started up with this. But today, we are seeing that 193 countries have become the members of United Nations. All these member nations came together on the platform of United Nations. The United Nations has its own definite objectives. Briefly, the United Nations takes up all necessary measures for establishing international peace. Objectives which are given to us in the book are, children, to establish friendly relations among nations. True fact. If we have friendly relation, then only the work can be done accordingly and easily the things can be done. To enhance international security by solving international disputes. To safeguard and foster human rights and freedom. Along with this, United Nations also aim at enhancing economic cooperation at international level. All member countries are bound by duty to respect the diplomatic privileges of sovereign nation, not to attack other countries and abide by international law and treaties. It is true, children, all the countries are bounded. They know their duties very well, and they are also bound to this, that particularly they follow the international law and treaties. The United Nations is an organization created by coming together of sovereign nations. Naturally, it is based on certain principles or rules. So children, in this video we have discussed about the objectives of the United Nations. In the next video, we'll be dealing with principles of United Nations and the structure of United Nations. So children, before starting up with the next video, continue with your eye exercise. Take care and have a good day. It is not joy that makes us grateful. It is gratitude that makes us joyful. Good morning, student. Welcome to today's next video. We have already started up with Political Science, Chapter 4, that is the United Nations. In the last video, children, we discussed about the objectives of the United Nations, like to establish friendly relation among other nations, to enhance international security by solving international disputes, and to safeguard and foster human rights and freedom. In this video, children, we'll be dealing with principles of United Nations, and we'll be also seeing the structure of the United Nations. So children, let's discuss about the principles of the United Nations. All member nations will have the same status. There is no discrimination among nations based on geographical size, economy or military power. This was one of the important principle, children. It's very clearly said there will be no discrimination among the nations, let the nation be small, big, or the country may have more military power or less military power. All nations will have same status. It was very clearly given in the principles of United Nations. Further, we see all member nations of the United Nations should respect the freedom and geographical unity of member nations. This is also one of the important point, children. All member nations of the United Nations should respect each other about their freedom as well as about their geographical unity. Next is All member nations should solve their international disputes and mutual differences by peaceful means. It is one of the very important concept, children. Let it be any dispute between the two regions, two countries. They have to solve it by peaceful manner only. These are the principles of United Nations. Now let's see about the structure of United Nations. The United Nations Charter describes the structure and functioning of this organization. The United Nations has six main organs. This is, we can also call it a structure of the United Nations. First one is General Assembly, Security Council, Economic and Social Council, International Court of Justice, Trusteeship Council and Secretariat. So, children, here we see about this 6 points. Further in the next lecture, children, we are going to discuss about one point everyone, like General Assembly, its functions. We will be discussing Security Council, its functions. Accordingly, all six we are going to have a good information on this. But in this video, we'll be only seeing the structure. These are the structures of the United Nations. Only the headings of this structure are being mentioned over here. So children, in this video, we have discussed about the principles of United Nations and structure of the United Nations. In the next video, we'll be dealing with General Assembly and functions of General Assembly. Just now I told you each and every point we are going to discuss in the further video. So in the further video, first structure, or you can also call it as organ, first organ of United Nations will be discussed, that is General Assembly and functions of General Assembly. Children, till the time before watching the next video, continue with your eye exercise. It is easy to stand with the crowd. It takes courage to stand alone. Good morning, student. Welcome to a very fine morning. Hope so. All are safe and healthy. Children, in the last four videos, we have already started up with Political Science Chapter 4, that is United Nations, and the concepts like introduction, a United Nation background, chronological of the establishment of United Nations, the objectives of United Nation, principles of United Nation and structure of United Nations are being discussed. So, in the last video we have seen this principles of United Nation and structure of United Nations. In this video we'll be dealing with General Assembly and functions of General Assembly. So children, let's discuss about General Assembly. All member countries are members of General Assembly. The position and status of all the countries, whether they are rich or poor, big or small, are the same. Every year, the General Assembly meets in its session from September to December. During this session, the General Assembly discuss important points like environment, disarmament, etc. The decisions in the General Assembly are taken by majority. These decisions are in the form of resolutions. Thus, the General Assembly only passes resolution. It does not make laws. The significance of the General Assembly lies in being a platform for representatives of member nations to come together and discuss and make policy decisions on issues of global importance. That means overall we see children. This is about the main concept is all member nations are equal, all are same. The decisions are taking into majority. All the members majority is being taken and on that basis only the decisions are being taken. Now children, this was about the General Assembly. Now let's see about the functions of General Assembly. To elect the non-permanent members of Security Council, this is the first step over here, that they have to elect the non-permanent members of the Security Council to choose the United Nations Secretary General and Judge of the International Court of Justice in consultation with Security Council to pass the annual budget of the United Nations. So these are the functions of General Assembly. So we have seen about General Assembly and the functions of General Assembly, children. So in this video we discussed about this, and in the next video we'll be dealing with Security Council, functions of Security Council. Children, before starting up with the next video, continue with your eye exercise without fail. Have a good day, children. Let us think of education as the means of developing our greatest abilities, because in each of us there is a private hope and dream which fulfilled can be translated into benefit for everyone and greater strength for our nation. Good morning, student. Welcome to a fine morning. Hope so all are safe and healthy. We have already started up with Political Science Chapter 4, that is the United Nations. In the last video, we have discussed about General Assembly and functions of General Assembly. The main motto of General Assembly was or is to the position and status of all the countries, whether they are rich or poor, big or small, is one and the same. So in the last video we have discussed about this. In this video we'll be dealing with Security Council and functions of Security Council. In that, let us see first about the Security Council. There are 15 members in the Security Council. Of them, 5 are permanent while 10 are non-permanent members. Just see children, Total 15 members are there. In that, 5 are permanent members, but other 10 are non-permanent members because 193 countries are there. All should get the chance. The non-permanent members are chosen every 2 years by General Assembly. America, Russia, England, France, and China are permanent members of the Security Council. They have the veto power. For any decision to be taken, assent of all 5 permanent members and 4 non-permanent member is necessary. If even one of the 5 permanent member uses his veto power, that is gives a negative vote, the decision cannot be taken. It is very true, children. If one also member says no for anything, the decision will not be taken if the veto power is, because that person has or that particular country has veto power with them. Now let us see about the functions of the Security Council. The main responsibility of the Security Council is to maintain international peace and security. The Security Council may suggest one among the following alternatives in situations of international conflicts, end or resolve conflict, and make efforts to establish peace, impose economic sanctions, or take a decision of military action against the aggressor nation. To prepare policies for arms control. This is very important, children. UN has to work on this and they should have the policy regarding this. To play a joint role along with the General Assembly in the appointments of judges of International Court of Justice and of United Nations Security Council. Suggestions are being made to reform the Security Council and make it more democratic. India is making efforts to get permanent membership of the Security Council. So this was about the functions of Security Council. In this video, children, we discussed about Security Council and functions of Security Council. In the next video, we'll be dealing with economic and social, and we'll be dealing with functions of Economic and Social Council. We are also going to deal with secretariats and functions of secretariat. So children, before starting up with the next video, continue with your eye exercise. Without leaps of imaginations or dreaming, we lose the excitement of possibilities. Dreaming, after all, is a form of planning. Good morning, student. Welcome to a very fine morning. Hope so all are safe and healthy. Children, be at your home. Children, we have already started up with Political Science Chapter 4, that is the United Nations. In the last video, we have discussed about the Security Council and functions of Security Council. In this video, children, we will be dealing with Economic and Social Council, functions of Economic and Social Council, Secretariat, and functions of Secretariat. So children, first we will be seeing about the Economic and Social Council. The main objective of Economic and Social Council is to coordinate the economic and social policies of the United Nations. That means they have to deal with economic and social policies of the United Nations. The Council has 54 members. They are selected by the General Assembly. Each member has tenure of 3 years, and each year 1/3 of the members are newly chosen. That means 1/3 are also retired children. Decisions are taken by majority vote. So in Economic and Social Council, we see that the decisions are taken by majority vote. Voting is done, and on that basis we choose the new members. Now let's see about the functions of Economic and Social Council. initiate discussions at the global level on issues like poverty, unemployment, economic and social inequality, and suggest policies to tackle these problems. So, we see over here that they try to solve out, try to tackle out the problems related to poverty, unemployment, economic and social inequality, and give, or we can say come forward with the policies how to resolve the problems. Then we see about discuss issues like women's questions, empowerment of women, human rights, fundamental freedoms, global trade, health related issues, etc., and make decisions. So it is about not only related to your poverty employment they are working, but this council also take care or discuss issues like women's questions, empowerment of women, about the human rights and many more things. Then make efforts to establish cultural and educational cooperation at international level. Even they try to make efforts to establish the relationship between culture and education cooperation. Coordination, the they coordinate the functioning of the different organization working in the association with the United Nations. That means coordination is also being seen. Now, children, let's see further about the Secretariat. Now, the Secretariat has a responsibility of carrying out the administrative task of United Nations. The chief of the Secretariat is the Secretary General. He is selected by the General Assembly and the Security Council, and his tenure is of 5 years. So, this was about the Secretariat, and the person who is being the chief of this particular association is called as Secretary General. He is being selected by in the General Assembly, and his tenure, that means he can work for that institution for 5 years. Now, let's see about the functions of Secretariat. To call international conferences on global problems like climate change, human rights, disarmaments, etc. To organize the meetings of the General Assembly and Security Council, to compile information, to supply information to the media. These are the main functions, children, we can see to get connected with one or two organizations, to supply information to the media what exactly they are doing, where the particular work is going on, and again to call international conference on global problems like if there is drastic climate change, human rights, disarmament, etc. So this was about the functions of Secretariat. So in this video, children, we have seen about Economic and Social Council, functions of Economic and Social Council, Secretariat, functions of Secretariat. In the next video, children, we'll be dealing with International Court of Justice, functions of International Court of Justice, and Trusteeship Council. Before starting up the next video, children, continue with your eye exercise. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. The secret of getting started is breaking your complex, overwhelming task into small, manageable tasks and then starting on the first one. Good morning, student. Welcome to today's next video. In the last video, we have already started up with Political Science, Chapter 4, United Nations. In that, we have already discussed about Economic and Social Council, functions of Economic and Social Council. We have also seen about Secretariat and function of Secretariat. In this video, children, will be dealing with International Court of Justice, functions of International Court of Justice, and Trusteeship Council. So let's start up with International Court of Justice. International Court of Justice means the judicial branch of United Nations. That means this branch is being created or organized for international level. The International Court of Justice is located at Hague in the Netherlands. There are 15 judges in International Court of Justice. They are chosen by the General Assembly and the Security Council. Every judge has a tenure of 9 years. That means total 15 judges work in this International Court of Justice, and they are being chosen or elected by General Assembly and the Security Council, and the tenure is of only 9 years. Now let's see the functions of International Court of Justice. Functions are to settle the disputes between two or more member nations of the United Nations. Whenever the United Nations members have problem with each other, they try to solve this dispute with the help of International Court of Justice. Next, to interrupt international law authentically. If there is any problem in the international law, so it can be interrupted by the International Court of Justice. We can also see to advise the various organs of subsidiary bodies of the United Nations about legal issues. That means International Court of Justice also gives an advice to the various organs of United Nations about the legal issues. Now children, let's see about the Trusteeship Council. After the Second World War, the territories that were undeveloped were placed under the responsibility of the developed nation. This was one of the main concept being seen children after the Second World War. The territories which are undeveloped, that means which were very much underdeveloped, their responsibility was given to the developed nation. Later we suppose to help bring about the development of the trust territories, and once they attain independence from their colonies, help establish democracy. That means it was only a supportive hand. Trusteeship Council was only a supportive hand. The work of Trusteeship Council is over as there are no trust territories left. So there were no trust territories left. So the work was given to Trusteeship Council. Only they have to take care of that particular time period being. The work of Trusteeship Council ended when Palau got independence on 1st November 1994. Palau is an island in the Pacific Ocean, 500 meters east of Philippines. So this was the time period when this Trusteeship Council ended. So this was about the Trusteeship Council. Now let's see about International Court of Justice in this video. Then we have also seen about the functions of International Court of Justice and Trusteeship Council. In the next video, children will be dealing with Millennium Development Goals. Till the time, children, continue with your eye exercise before starting up with the next video. Thinking is the capital, enterprise is the way, hard work is the solution. It's very true, children. Good morning, student. Welcome to a very fine morning. Hope so. All are safe and healthy. Children, we have already started up with Political Science Chapter 4, that is the United Nations. In the last video, children, we have discussed about International Court of Justice, functions of International Court of Justice, and Trusteeship Council. In this video, we'll be dealing with Millennium Development Goal. A millennium is a period of 1000 years, sometimes called a kiloyear. Sometimes the word is used specifically for periods of 1000 years that begin at the starting point of the calendar in the consideration, and at later years that are whole numbers, multiples of 1000 years after the start point. So this was about millennium, children. Now let's see about Millennium Development Goals. The United Nations member nations came together in 2000 and decided upon the development goals for new millennium. Some of the important goals are as follows: to eliminate poverty and hunger, to make facilities of primary education available, to bring about women's empowerment reduce infant mortality rate. So this were the important goals, we can say, children. Still many are there further. We'll see that also. To eliminate poverty and hunger, that means to reduce poverty and hunger, to make facilities of primary education available everywhere, to bring about women's empowerment, to increase the women's empowerment. Let's see further. Further are to take special care of health of pregnant women. This was also one of the main goal during the time period of Millennium Development Goal, to fight against the disease like AIDS, malaria, etc. For that, to take care how it will be reduced, how the disease can be, how the people can fight with this disease, to protect the environment and increase the cooperation between developed and developing nation. One more important thing, to protect the environment as well as increase the cooperation between the developed and developing nations. A time period has been decided to achieve these goals. India has made considerable progress in the direction of achieving the Millennium Development Goals with the help of UNICEF and UNESCO. So, this was about children Millennium Development Goals, which we have seen in this video. In the next video, children will be dealing with United Nations and preservation of peace and United Nations peacekeeping. Continue with your eye exercise, children, before starting up with the next video. All birds find shelter during a rain, but eagle avoids rain by flying above the clouds. Good morning, student. Welcome to today's next video. We have already started up and we are towards the end of Political Science Chapter 4, that is United Nations. So in the last video, children, we have seen about Millennium Development Goals. Millennium means 1,000 years, a period of 1,000 years. We have seen in the last video about its development goals. Now in this video, children, we'll be dealing with United Nations and preservation of peace. And we'll also be seeing United Nations peacekeeping force. So let's start up with United Nations and preservation of peace. Now let's first see what it is exactly. The objective of United Nations is to settle international conflicts peacefully. Definitely the work of United Nations is to solve the conflicts peacefully. The United Nations character lays down the ways and means to be employed to achieve this goal. Definitely the main aim, the main work is to achieve this goal, that each and every problem should be sought out in a peaceful manner. It includes appointing an intermediary acceptable to the nations involved in the conflict, use the legal procedure, appoint an arbiter to solve the dispute, and if needed, to take recourse to military means to ensure that conflict will not occur again. So there are so many things, children, in this. Exactly, United Nations and preservation of peace goes hand in hand, because it is the main objective of United Nations to preserve peace everywhere. In modern times, human security has been threatened by terrorism, racist, and religious conflict. As a result, the function of securing peace of United Nations has acquired a lot of importance. It's very true. As a result, functions of securing peace of the United Nations has acquired a lot of importance. The United Nations make efforts to ensure that violence does not erupt in strife-torn areas and normalcy is restored as soon as possible by, for example, starting schools, creating awareness among the people about human rights, make social, economic, political facilities available, and conduct elections, etc. So, children, this was about United Nations and preservation of peace. How to preserve the peace towards the United Nations. Now, let's see about United Nations peacekeeping. The peacekeeping activity of the United Nations involve creating appropriate circumstances favorable for bringing about permanent peace in strife-torn areas. The peacekeeping force help these areas to progress towards peace. In conflicts ridden areas, security is provided and at the same time help is extended establishing peace. The nations takes up peacekeeping as one of the tasks for safeguarding and fostering peace in the world. Following things are other action. The United Nations may take supplementary to peacekeeping activities like prevention of conflict and mediation, actually establish peace, implement the measures of protecting peace and peace building. So children, in this video, we have seen about United Nations and preservation of peace and United Nations peacekeeping. Continue with your exercise before starting up with the next video. In the next video, children will be dealing with United Nations and India, and it will be towards the end of this chapter. Man needs his difficulties because they are necessary to enjoy success. It's very true, children. When we have difficulties in our ways, definitely we enjoy the success accordingly. Children, we have already started off with political science, chapter 4, United Nations, and now we are towards the end, or we can say we are ending up with the chapter United Nations. In the last video, children, we have dealt with United Nations and preservation of peace and United Nations peacekeeping forces. Now, further in this video, we'll be dealing with the United Nations and India. India had participated in different conferences that were held before the establishment of United Nations. India has participated in bringing issues like decolonization, disarmament, racial segregation on the United Nations platform. So children, India, United Nations and India, we see they have participated in many conferences which were held before the establishment of UN also. And India had participated in bringing issues. That means India is trying to bring the issues in front of United Nations. Then we see further, in 1946, India was the first country to raise the question of racism in the United Nations. India has always led the discussion about the problems of undeveloped and developing countries. India has always sent her troops to participate in the United Nations peacekeeping forces. Not just that, India has sent an all-woman peacekeeping force as well. It is evident that from the foregoing analysis that India makes serious efforts to solve international conflict by peaceful means. That means exactly when we talk about, now see, in 1946 what happened? India was the first country to talk about racism. Till the time there were so many problems because of this racism, but India was the first country to freely talk about the racism. Then it goes further. India has always led the discussion about the problems of undeveloped and developing country. This was also the problem which was there in front every time. India has always led the discussion about the problems of undeveloped and developing countries. Not just that, India has sent all women peacekeeping forces as well. That means not only all this thing, India had sent peacekeeping forces, India is trying to help the other countries. India, it is just said like this, it is not just making solutions, but it has also sent the women's peacekeeping force. So this was about, children, a relationship between United Nations and India. Now children, continue with your exercise before starting up with the next video, and here we end with this chapter. So in the next video, we'll be starting up with the new chapter. Have a good day, children.